Severe weather can strike at any time, and you can take steps now to help keep you and your family safe. The Storm Track 3 team looks back at the biggest local impacts over the last century. We've got you covered on how to be ready for the worst. Project Tornado starts right now.
Hello, I'm Chief Meteorologist Nick Housen. Living in this part of the country, severe weather is just part of life. It's not a matter of if severe weather will strike our region, it's just a matter of when. Here at News 3, we feel that education saves lives. We want you to plan and understand the science behind tornadoes, and knowing what to do when they form can be a matter of life and death.
Tornadoes can come in many shapes, sizes, and strengths. But what is a tornado? A tornado is a violent rotating column of air that stretches from the base of a thunderstorm to the ground. And there's something we're all too familiar with here at home. Tornadoes can occur during any month of the year and have been reported in all 50 states. However, the central part of the U.S. has been nicknamed Tornado Alley. This is where the warm, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico rises and collides with the cold, dry air from the Rocky Mountains. The two different air masses creates a prime environment for the formation of storms and tornadoes. While each storm system is unique, there are four main ingredients needed for a tornado to thrive. These can easily be remembered by using the acronym SLIM. S stands for shear or wind shear. Shear is the change of wind speed and/or direction with height. Shear is responsible for creating the rotation within the storm. L represents lift. This helps get the air rising. Lift is needed to get storms to form, but it can come in many different forms. Lift in our region is typically along a front or boundary. It can also come from the jet stream or an approaching area of low pressure. I is instability. One that you probably hear us mention often. Unstable air rises, eventually forming clouds. In order for a thunderstorm to form, the air must be able to rise freely. Last but not least, M stands for moisture. Moisture is essentially fuel for thunderstorms. Without it, clouds wouldn't be able to form. We track the moisture through dew points. The higher the dew point, the more moisture in the air. A 60-degree dew point is typically the threshold for severe weather. Once all of these ingredients come together, they can form a supercell thunderstorm. And if the rotation extends low enough, a tornado can form. The shear creates the rotation, and then the strong lift flips it vertically. After a tornado is formed, we can track it by looking for different distinguishing features using radar. When it comes to tornadoes, we look for a hook shape. An inflow of air into the storm creates the hook shape, indicating the strong rotation. With strong and violent tornadoes, a debris ball can also be seen within the hook. This is where objects are picked up and then thrown thousands of feet into the air. Another way to track rotation is by using the velocity. It can often give us a clearer picture by showing which way the wind is moving within the storm. The winds are depicted in reds and greens. Red is wind moving away from the radar, and green is wind moving towards the radar. Bright reds and greens next to each other signify strong rotation within the storm. While broadcast meteorologists track these storms to help keep you safe, the National Weather Service is responsible for issuing the official alerts. These then get sent out to your phones and your weather radios.
When it comes to severe weather, the National Weather Service may issue two different types of alerts, a watch and a warning. Knowing the difference is important to keep you and your family safe. I visited home of the tornadoes, Ziegler Royalton Elementary School, to speak to 3rd and 1st graders to help clear up any confusion between the two. They even provided some helpful advice.
I would probably just get under my desk. A warning is when there's actually something coming, and then a watch is if you don't know for sure if something's coming.
I asked them to see if they were interested in maybe getting a career in weather, but I think they're still on the fence.
You don't want to do the weather?
No way. I can probably.
There is an easy trick to help remember the crucial difference, and the answer is a cupcake. When a watch is issued, just think of the process of baking the cupcake. You'll need specific ingredients like flour, sugar, and butter. Tornadoes are the same way. You'll need some certain ingredients: instability, a change in wind speed, and moisture. When those are present, a tornado watch may be issued, meaning it's time to be weather aware, know your safety plan, and be prepared to act quickly. Now, the ingredients have been combined and the cupcakes have been baked. When they've been spotted and are ready to eat, a cupcake warning would be issued. A tornado warning means it's time to take action because a possible tornado is heading your way. It's either been spotted or radar indicated. Immediately take shelter and stay in your safe place until the warning is over. A safe place may look different for everyone depending on your home. A basement is the ideal place to go, but if you don't have one, an interior room without windows like a bathroom is a great choice. If you're able, try to wear a helmet and shoes to protect from debris. Mobile homes are not a safe place from tornadoes. Have a quick and safe plan to evacuate. If you're in a car and are threatened by the possibility of a tornado, seek shelter in a nearby building. Never a highway underpass. A last resort would be to seek shelter in a ditch. Having that safety plan in place with your loved ones is crucial when living in an area with constant severe weather.
Tornadoes are rated on a scale from 0 to 5, known as the Enhanced Fujita Scale, named after legendary University of Chicago meteorologist Ted Fujita. The scale was first introduced in 1971 and matches damage to wind speeds.
Even the weakest tornadoes produce strong enough winds to cause substantial damage. EF0 and EF1 tornadoes, which have wind speeds of 65 up to 110 miles per hour, make up a whopping 80% of all tornadoes on record. Check out this tornado we caught on camera back in 2012 in rural Jackson County. This photogenic tornado was an EF0, tracking mostly through a field. Very little damage was reported. Then there's this tornado that hit part of West Frankfort on December 5, 2021, an EF1, estimated to have winds of 95 miles per hour. It was enough to cause significant damage to a business, ripping the roof off and sending the sheet metal flying into the trees. Despite being deemed weak tornadoes, these often short-lived twisters are still something to take seriously. Still on the lower end, EF2 tornadoes make up around 14% of all tornadoes on record, with wind speeds of 111 up to 135 miles per hour. These tornadoes can cause considerable damage to buildings and other structures. This was damage from an EF2 tornado that hit Dealstadt, Missouri in June of 2012. The winds completely destroyed an occupied mobile home and unfortunately took the lives of 3 people. Classified as a strong tornado, an EF3 has winds from 136 to 165 miles per hour. Thankfully, these only make up about 4% of all twisters, but the damage is severe. The Brookport tornado in November 2013 was an EF3. Peak winds were 145 miles per hour, and 3 people were killed. Cars tossed, significant structural damage to homes and businesses, and mobile homes blown over 100 feet. EF4 tornadoes are even rarer, accounting for only around 1% of all tornadoes. Now, while rare, they are the ones we remember the most, usually long tracking with violent winds that can take entire homes off their foundation. Our region has had its fair share of these life-changing storms. From the night of May 6, 2003, 20 years ago this year, when an F4 ripped across parts of Pulaski, Massac, and Polk counties, killing 2 people and injuring 30. And Mayfield, just shy of being an EF5. It had estimated winds of 190 miles per hour and was one of the longest tracking tornadoes in history. After seeing the destruction from each one of these tornadoes, it's hard to believe the scale goes higher. Accounting for just 0.1% of all tornadoes are EF5s. Wind speeds of at least 200 miles per hour, where the bark is ripped off trees, the grass is torn from the ground, and even concrete foundations are heavily damaged. It has been nearly 10 years since the last EF5 tornado in the United States, occurring May 20th, 2013 in Moore, Oklahoma. How many tornadoes does the United States average per year? Answer after this break. How many tornadoes does the United States average per year? Around 800.
Meteorologists with the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, issued these maps all year round. And each color represents a higher level of confidence of severe weather chances on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. Well, these categorical outlooks measure a percentage of risk factor across the United States. That includes tornado, hail, and wind probabilities. And we see a few of them here in our region, but how often do we see these factors play out? Understanding the weather in your region also means being aware of what risks come along with it. Tornadoes can happen at any given time of the year. Late February, May, and November have been prime months to see higher probability of seeing a tornado here at home.
You can definitely have a tornado in the middle of summer. You can have damaging winds in spring. Yeah, there's no recipe necessarily.
John Hart is a lead forecaster with the Storm Prediction Center. Originally from Mount Vernon, Illinois, where the weather changes rapidly, Hart knows a thing or two about taking all risk factors seriously. Hart experienced the Marion, Illinois tornado in May of 1982. In February 2012, he issued the tornado watch the day Harrisburg, Illinois, was hit by a powerful EF4 tornado.
Tornadoes are kind of the tip of the spear in terms of severe weather, and it's the worst kind. But whether it be damaging winds, localized flash flooding or river flooding, or even very large hail events, which we don't see as much of in Illinois, but every once in a while there'll be a big hailstorm. They all cause a lot of trouble, and at least at the Storm Prediction Center, we're trying to keep people aware that it's coming.
But we have other risks too.
People don't realize the risk of pretty fast-moving water flowing across these roads, and people drive into it, but you always saw people trying. You don't think about the risk. You think, oh, it's not that bad. Well, every once in a while it gets that bad, and the next thing you know, your car is being swept away, and it's a really serious situation.
So what causes the most damage? It varies by the magnitude. Flooding causes more death, but wind causes more damage. Here at home, we see more wind and flooding events than we see tornadoes. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't prepare for one. In fact, you should be preparing for all modes of severe weather.
Tornadoes spring, wind summer, and then flooding year-round.
Outdoor warning sirens like this one play an important role when it comes to severe weather. They've even been credited to saving countless lives. There is a lot, though, that you may not know when it comes to sirens.
It's an unmistakable sound, often one we associate with an impending tornado, but that's not always the case. For many, the risk depends on the sound you hear. For the city of Carbondale, the first is for attacks.
So the attack siren is meant for Department of Homeland Security to allow emergency operations coordinators to let people know in case there's an emergent threat.
The second and more familiar one, inclement weather.
So one is tornadoes, obviously, and then anything over, I think it's right around the threshold of 62 miles an hour of wind. So we just want to make sure with that high wind, anything in that type of that wind, that speed can cause damage or kill somebody.
Ryan Hall, the emergency operations coordinator for the city of Carbondale, says when it comes to severe weather, it all begins in the National Weather Service office with their warning coordination meteorologist, Christine Welgus, who oversees these exact situations.
A lot of what we're doing is called mesoanalysis. And so we're trying to figure out what the atmosphere is doing and try to figure out when things are going to happen, how bad they may be, and making sure that we're messaging that out.
Back in Southern Illinois, Orville Rowe, coordinator emergency manager for Jackson County EMA, says although each area receives the same information, the way they respond differs.
But typically it's each jurisdiction will set off their own sirens to their whatever their standard operating procedure would be for that.
Which is why if you live in Carbondale, a siren may sound for hail and strong winds compared to other towns that choose to only sound for tornadoes. But it's really for those who are outdoors.
They were designed a long time ago to warn people who were outdoor workers, farmers, or people that worked outdoors, to let them know, hey, something's going on. So sirens were never meant for people to be, hearing them inside.
which makes having multiple ways to receive alerts even more important. While you shouldn't only rely on the outdoor warning sirens, Carbondale is busy working on making upgrades.
These drawings were not correct back 20 years ago. So what we've done is we've redone the map to make sure we pick up these coverage area gaps. And that's just something we didn't know that we were missing.
What is the longest tracking tornado ever recorded? The answer after this break. What is the longest tracking tornado ever recorded? The Tri-State tornado of 1925.
Having multiple ways to receive warnings during severe weather could save your life. And one local couple says their weather radio did just that.
We could have even died, I think.
Pulaski County residents Carolyn and Herman Dumas went to bed like any other night. But it wasn't long before their weather radio woke them up.
And the weather radio came on. And of course, we were annoyed. At least I was annoyed. I don't know about him.
I just thought, well, it's cheating me out of my sleep now. And lo and behold, it was God sent.
After multiple alerts and being unable to fall back asleep, the couple agreed to take turns keeping an eye on things.
There was this loud clap of thunder and this lightning flash that shut down the radio. It quit talking.
Herman says that's when an electrical burning smell began to fill their home.
The smell got stronger. And finally she called me and she said, something's light over there between the bookcase and the wall. And I went over and looked, and lo and behold, I saw flames burning between the bookcase and the wall.
Lightning had struck the antenna outside their home, which then knocked out their security system, several appliances, and caught an extension cord on fire.
By the time he gets there and touches the cord, it's on fire. It's on fire, literally on fire. And flames shooting out of it.
Carolyn and Herman say they were lucky to be awake and able to put out the fire.
If we had laid in bed and ignored that radio, that flame would have gotten so big before we realized the house is on fire, and we would have been trapped upstairs.
The couple hopes that their story will encourage more people to get a weather radio.
Especially for people who don't want their phones on and vibrating all night, should very much have a weather radio.
I wouldn't ignore it again anymore, that's for sure.
Spring and fall can be a time for turbulent weather, from roller coaster temperatures to snowfall and severe weather. One southern Illinois community found that out the hard way on Sunday, November 17th, 2013. It looked like a large cloud moving quickly on the ground, but inside of that, there's a strong tornado with winds well over 100 miles per hour. This video taken by a tugboat as the tornado crossed the Ohio River. Rain-wrapped, the tornado itself was almost impossible to see.
And when it went from just a minor spit on the window to just total wipeout, just nothing but just gushing in water. And I like I said, I couldn't see the hood of the car, the squad car. You know, I thought I got caught in the middle of it.
Metropolis Police Chief Harry Massey responded to Brookport after hearing the tornado was crossing the river. Others were right in the heart of it.
Oh, I know I was about 3-4 feet probably in the air. I know we were off the ground.
It was just like a war zone out there. I mean, for a half-mile stretch, everything's gone.
Survivors recounted the experience in the days after the EF3 tornado hit, with winds up to 145 miles per hour. 3 people were killed and many more were injured.
Some fractures to her back and head injuries. The way we understand, she was thrown about 200 feet from the trailer.
Local police, fire, and sheriff's deputies were some of the first on scene.
Once we got over the initial shock, you know, because, I mean, you just got to take a deep breath sometimes and suck it all in and look at the big picture. We started to get more organized in our chaos.
Support came in from all over. People combing through the debris for anything that was salvageable, to donations of food, water, and other essential items, filling the Baptist church in downtown Brookport and helping dozens of families get back on their feet. It'll be 10 years since the tornado this November. To the untrained eye, you would never know the devastation that this area of Unionville Road experienced. Many of those homes have been rebuilt, but look closely, and you'll still find things like grain bins tossed into the woods, a constant reminder to the people who live in this area.
This map shows the number of tornadoes that have occurred in each county over the last 70 years. While some counties may have had more than others, every county has experienced at least 5, from the hills of the Ozarks and the Shawnee to the Delta region of the Missouri Boot Heel. Local terrain and topography have little impact on tornado tracks, which means we should all be ready, be prepared, and not scared. I'm Storm Track 3 Chief Meteorologist. Thanks for joining us.